Welcome to all. Today we shall be discussing ISLM model. Now ISLM model. This is one of the most important chapter under macroeconomics, and it has a huge practical applications. So in ISLM model there are two parts. One part is called the IS, and another part is the LM. Now IS, that is basically the product market equilibrium, and LM is the money market equilibrium. So there are two sides of the ISLM model. One is the product market equilibrium and another one is the money market equilibrium. So first of all, I shall be discussing the product market equilibrium or the derivation of IS curve, and the next video I will be discussing the LM curve or the money market equilibrium. So let's start with the IS curve first. In the exam, the question may come in two ways, but the answer will be the same. Now, what will be the probable question that may come? The first, that derive the IS curve. First, the derive the IS curve. And how to derive the IS curve? Or the question may come in other way, that explain the product market equilibrium. Now, although these are the two different ways the question stated, but the answer will be the same. That means you have to explain the product market equilibrium or you have to derive the IS curve. So let's start with the derivation of IS curve first. That how to derive IS curve for the product market equilibrium. So product market equilibrium. What is the definition of the product market equilibrium? What is the definition? Now, product market equilibrium, a market is said to be a product market equilibrium when the aggregate demand is equal to aggregate supply. I repeat once again that what is called the product market equilibrium? A market is said to be a product market equilibrium when the aggregate demand AD is equal to aggregate supply. AS is the aggregate supply. So it's very clear to you? Okay. So there are two sides of the product market equilibrium. One side is the demand side, that is aggregate demand, and other side is the AS, that is the aggregate supply. So let's focus on the demand side first. That aggregate demand, that is equal to C plus I plus G plus X minus N. That means demand is looked from the expenditures point of view. Demand is looked from the expenditures point of view. Let's take an example. Suppose I spend 10 rupees for buying a chocolate. So my expenditure is 10 rupees. That means if I spend 10 rupees, that is my expenditure, that means that was my demand. So the amount which I spent, that was the amount was my demand. So if I add all the expenditure, then I can get the total demand or the aggregate demand. So aggregate demand we can see from the expenditures point of view. So I have already discussed in my previous videos that the C, I, G, X and N stands for what? I just repeat once again. The C stands for the aggregate consumption expenditure. I stands for the aggregate investment expenditure. G stands for the aggregate government expenditure. X stands for the exports, total exports, and M stands for the total imports. And X minus M, this is called the net exports. Okay. Now, that this model of this one, it stands upon some assumptions. What are the assumptions? The assumption is that it is a closed economy without government. So we have started with a very simplified the model that it is a closed economy without government. So if it is a closed economy without government, closed economy means export is zero, import zero, and since there is no government, so government expenditure will be zero. This part will be zero. That means the AD will be equal to then C plus I. That means consumption expenditure plus investment expenditure. Okay. Now, if AD equal to C plus I, this is one. Suppose equation number one. This is equation number one. Now come to the another side of the product market equilibrium, that is the supply side, aggregate supply. So aggregate supply A is C plus S plus T plus RA. This AS is the C plus S plus T plus RA. Now C means what? C means once again the consumption expenditure. S means the savings, stands for the savings. T stands for the total tax, and RF is the transfer payment of the government. Now, since that there is no government, so the tax will be zero. Since there is no government, so there is no question about the tax collection. So tax will be zero. As well as since there is no government, so there is no question of the transfer payment from the government side. Now, what is the transfer payment? That I have already discussed in my last video. The transfer payment means the payment which is given by the government to those persons, but that there is government is not getting any return from those persons. For example, the government is paying the pension to the retired person. So those who are getting the pension, in return they are not giving any output. So it is a kind of transfer payment or the unemployment dole. Okay, so these are the transfer payment from the government side. Since the government is absent, so the transfer payment will be zero, tax will be zero. So therefore, our aggregate supply becomes equal to C plus S. So now this becomes our equation number 2. So what is the equilibrium condition? AD equal to AS. The equilibrium condition is AD equal to AS. This one AD equal to AS. So putting this value, that AD C plus I, therefore the C plus I is equal to C plus AS. Now C will be cancelled from both sides. Therefore I is equal to AS. Investment equal to savings. Investment is equal to savings. Okay. So if investment equal to savings, so this is another side we can see that either we can see product market equilibrium from AD equal to AS, or we can see the product market equilibrium that I is equal to AS. Now what do we know? That we know that saving equal to C, that we know the saving equal to Y minus C. So let's written here that saving is equal to, now we know that saving is equal to Y minus C. Okay, income minus consumption equal to savings. So S equal to Y, C means what? A plus BY. That means S is equal to minus A plus 1 minus BY. Okay. So the savings curve here, this is called the intercept of the savings line, and this one is called the slope of the savings line. So intercept of S line equal to minus A, that means negative. That means savings curve will start from the negative quadrant. Okay, because the intercept of the savings line is negative. So S line will start from the negative quadrant. And what is A? A is called the autonomous consumption. That is always positive. But before that, since there is a negative sign, so the intercept of S line becomes negative. Now the slope of S line is equal to 1 minus B. And 1 minus B, here B is called the MPC, marginal propensity to consume. And this value is lying between 0 to 1. More than 0 but less than 1. Okay. So since this is a positive fraction, this B value is a positive fraction. So 1 minus B will be also positive fraction. Okay. And therefore 1 minus B, that will be more than 0 but less than 1. That means the slope of the savings line, that will be upward sloping but flatter than 45-degree line. Why flatter than 45-degree line? Because that it is less than 1. As we know, the tan 45 degree is equal to 1. Since the slope is here less than 1, so it is flatter than 45 degree line. This is the slope. Okay. Now we shall be discussing the other part, that is the investment. Okay. Now investment, you know that investment is a function of the rate of interest. Investment is a function of the rate of interest. And there is an inverse relationship between the rate of interest and investment. Why there is an inverse relationship? Because suppose that if bank increases the rate of interest, then if you are the investors, okay, if you are the investor, then what you will do? Will you take more loans or less amount of loans from the bank? Obviously, being an investor, you will be taking less amount of loan. You will be waiting that when the rate of interest will fall, then you will be taking loans from the bank. So, when the rate of interest increases, then the rate of investment decreases. So, there is an inverse relationship between the rate of interest and investment. Okay. So, I can write that like this, that di by dr, that is negative. Di by dr is negative. And if we draw the diagram of this, one, here we will consider the I, here the rate of interest. Okay. So what will happen that if we take that rate of interest, so this one here we will take the rate of interest and I, the rate of interest and I. So this would be like this, the inverse relation between the rate of interest and the I, that gives the downward or the negative relationship, that gives the downward sloping curve, investment curve. Any inverse relation that will always give a downward sloping diagram. Okay. So what we understand? We understand that the savings curve, which is an upward sloping straight line with negative intercept. We understand the investment curve, which is a downward sloping curve. Now, we will be plotting the IS curve, but that will be plotted in a 4-quadrant diagram. It will be plotted in 4-quadrant diagram. So for 4-quadrant diagram, you see the diagram carefully. In a 4-quadrant diagram, that there are, suppose these are quadrant 1, second quadrant, the third quadrant, and this one is the 4th quadrant. Okay. Now, in the second, each and every axis of this one, that specific things will be measured. So here we are measuring Y, that is the national income. In this axis, we will be measuring rate of interest. Rate of interest related with investment, here investment, and here saving is related with income, so here the savings. Okay. So in the 4 axis, we are measuring 4 different things. Clear? Now, that investment curve is a downward sloping, so we will be drawing a downward sloping curve. This is the I, downward sloping curve. Now it looks like this one because investment we are measuring this axis. That is the reason why it looks like this one. Okay. So in the second quadrant, we have measured this. Now in the 4th quadrant, we will be drawing the savings curve. It is not the downward, it is basically the upward, because savings is measuring along this axis. So it looks like downward, but it is not the downward, it is actually the upward sloping. And along this side, this is the positive savings, and in this side, this is the negative savings. So this is a negative intercept, this side, negative. Okay. Now, this side, here in this quadrant, we will be taking a 45-degree line. We will be drawing a 45-degree line, 3rd quadrant. Now the question is why 45-degree line we are drawing. The answer is very simple, because any point on the 45-degree line that represents the product market in equilibrium. I repeat once again, any point on the 45-degree line represents the equilibrium in product market. Why equilibrium? Because that along this axis we measure savings, vertical axis, along the horizontal axis we measure the investment. Now, if you take any point on this 45-degree line, then tan 45-degree, generally what tan 45-degree? Tan theta equal to perpendicular by base. Tan theta equal to perpendicular by base. Now putting theta 45-degree in place, P by B, tan 45-degree 1. So P by B equal to 1. That means perpendicular equal to base. Perpendicularly we are measuring savings and horizontally we are measuring investment. So investment equal to savings, that gives product marketing equilibrium. So you can see that everywhere there is a logic is here. Why this curve is looks like this, why curve is downward, why upward, everywhere there is a logic. Okay. So now that once we understand, so we have done in the second, third and fourth quadrant. So our one quadrant is still back. That is a quadrant 1. What will be there? Now in this quadrant, we will be drawing the IS curve. And that is our question. That derive the IS curve. So we will be drawing the IS curve in quadrant 1. Okay. So let's start with this one. Suppose in the market, the rate of interest is R1. In the market, rate of interest is R1. R1 is the rate of interest. So when the rate of interest is R1, at R1 rate of interest, how much will be the investment? Come to this side, draw a perpendicular here. This much will be the investment. So at R1 rate of interest, investment will be the I1 amount. Okay. So if this is the investment, so for product market equilibrium, how much saving is required? Or for investment, how much saving is required? Because you know that the investment that depends on the savings. So for I1 amount of investment, this much of saving is required. S1 amount of saving is required. Clear? So if OI1 is the amount of investment, so for OI1 amount of investment, OS1 amount of saving is required, then that can maintain the product market equilibrium. Now for this amount of savings, how much income is required? You just see, the question is coming one by one. That for this much of savings, because savings depends on income, isn't it? Savings depends on income. So for OS1 amount of savings, how much income is required? So draw this line here. It will hit the savings curve here. Now draw a perpendicular. It will hit this axis here. So this much of income is required. This much of income is required. So we have drawn this line here, then here. So OY1 amount of income is required for OS1 amount of savings. That means that for product market equilibrium, when the rate of interest is R1, then the income, national income should be OY1. Now we will join, we get this quadrant. So say this is a quadrant A. We get this coordinate, we get this coordinate A, and this one representing what? That R1 amount of R1Y1. Okay. So now this is the one coordinate we are getting. Now let's take another case. Suppose rate of interest increases in the market. Let's say R2. Okay. So if the rate of interest is R2, then what will happen? For this amount of rate of interest, similarly the investment will be I2. Okay. For this amount of OI2 amount of investment, how much saving is required? S2. For this amount of savings, how much income is required? Go to this side, go to that side. Y2 amount of income is required. Okay. So for this Y2 amount of income, so that means for maintaining the product market equilibrium, when the rate of interest is R2, then the national income should be OY2, and that maintains the product market equilibrium. So what will be the combination of R and Y? We get this one. So another coordinate we are getting B let's say R2 and Y2. Okay. So in this way, we will be getting a lot of different coordinates. So if we all these coordinates that represent that product market is in equilibrium. Okay, all these coordinates represent the product market in equilibrium. Now, if we join all such successive points to a curve, then we get a downward sloping curve, and this curve is called the IS curve. This curve is called the IS curve. This one. So an IS curve, what you see that IS curve is a downward sloping because that as rate of interest increases, or this one will be this side, as rate of interest increases, then the income that decreases, and that gives a downward sloping IS curve. So what will be the definition of IS curve? IS curve, it is a locus of different combination of interest rate, different combination. You can see R1, R2. It is a locus of different combination of rate of interest and national income, which gives product market in equilibrium. I repeat once again that IS curve is what? It is a locus of different combination of rate of interest and the national income, which gives product market in equilibrium. Okay. I hope that this concept is clear to you. Okay. And if you are having that any doubts or any questions in your mind, then you can write in the chat box, and I will try to clarify your answer. Okay. So thank you watching for this video.